Many early scholars of then burgeoning mass culture approached early fans much the same way, specifically a Marxist powerhouse of German intellectuals who formed what's called the Frankfurt School.
Marxist powerhouse. Notice the reverence for the Marxist powerhouse that he has.
Oh my God.
The reverence for the Frankfurt School.
Yes.
I'm going to be honest. He's not wrong. Like they were incredibly influential and
that is
true. Smart. So he's not wrong, but you are right that it's like weirdly approving of the Frankfurt School.
Yes. Well, it's not weird. It's
Well, yeah, sort of like
he's a socialist
troupe of cranky philosophers. Members included dudes like Theodor Adorno, Walter Benjamin, and Max Horkheimer, who collectively pioneered the discipline we now know as critical theory. Critical theory views philosophy and social theory's primary purposes as being tools to critique social and political structures of power.
Can't wait to see how this links back to Is Disney a Religion?
Right.
What I find interesting about this is the framing. It's just critique, guys. Just critique. No.
You're just being critical of it.
You read any Marcuse, you realize it's about the total destruction of the West in order to bring about communism.
Right.
They're just being critical of capitalism. It's fine. There's
just
nothing wrong with
critique.
that. Just being critique. Yeah, it's just fine. Yeah.
And when
Muslims are just critical of the rights of
and they're the
women.
most ungrateful shits as well. They're the most ungrateful shits. Oh, the Nazis are going to kill us. What are we going to do? Flee to America. Oh, good idea. Oh, America's never going to have communism. I need to make America have communism. How about you just give them back to the fucking Nazis? Just fucking, like, what an evil bastard.
It's
like,
funny that
ungrateful shit.
It's funny that you mentioned that because he literally brings up an article that says that, and I was going to point that out. How insane it is that you have these guys run away from the Nazis, and then they whine about capitalism in America. It's like, okay, well, you can go back if you want. I mean,
exactly.
Well, the first few times it didn't work out so well, but here in America, over in the New World, things will be different.
Right?
Something in the water, it'll work.
Several of these folks fled Nazi Germany for America. They
So
found
it's even
plenty
worse,
to
actually. It's like,
critique about its culture.
we're in Germany. What are we going to do? We're going to try and bring about communism. What happened? We brought about Nazism. Flee to America.
I think
it's communism here. We need to start again, lads. It's like, fuck's sake.
And it's just so amazing that, like, apparently part of the reason that Hitler even came into power was because the Communist Party wouldn't join forces with the moderate, left
Social
center
Democrats,
party. Yeah. And because of that, they split the vote essentially and let the far right come into power.
But also because of the, I guess we'll call it the cultural degradation that was going on. This was a major impetus for people to vote for the Nazis. Because the Nazis were like, "Oh, we're going to get rid of all this degeneracy," and everyone's like, "Oh, thank God, there's so much fucking degeneracy." And that's one of the things that they did.
Right. Well, and they also, like, there was a big leftist revolution where they took over parts of the country at some point, and they're like, "We're going to be communist now." And they're like, "Wait a minute."
Yeah. Anyway, it's very subversive.
Like his comedy.
Wow.
How dare you?
That's giving it way too much credit. Jesus.
Critique about its culture. Writing for Vox.
Do you like
just a critique of culture, guys? Just a critique.
He doesn't read it. The title of this article: "If you want to understand the age of Trump, read the Frankfurt School."
Okay.
Ages used to be longer than 4 years.
Why now is a great time to dust off this forgotten school of criticism.
The Bronze Age, the Stone Age, the Iron Age, the Industrial Age, the Trump Age.
That's right.
Long line of
the entire age of humanity is now being defined by Donald Trump.
Sean Illing explains they saw the yoke of capitalist ideology wherever they looked, in films, in radio, in popular music,
yoke of
in
capitalist
literature.
ideology.
This is amazing. So we went to America, which is, pretty much the country that kind of invented capitalism, actually. And we found capitalism everywhere. It's really weird. It's like, it's like you could just call it Americanism, basically. It's literally what Americans think about private property and the free market.
Based.
We have to free them from the
way they think.
They've put themselves subjugum underneath capitalism, this ideology. We have to free them from this mistake that they've done to themselves.
Yeah. But I mean, like, literally, look how prosperous and rich they are. They're never going to become communists. It's like, no shit.
Do you like the sentence right before he reads says, "Their ideas took shape when several of the critics, theorists, fled Nazism, landed in the U.S., and then turned their gaze on American culture." You know, you think after they fled literal, Nazis, they'd be like, oh, this is so much better. No one's trying to put us in camps and murder us. But they're like, nah, fuck this. Fucking capitalism.
Which is incidentally what the Russian Jews actually thought when they set up Hollywood. Like, they were big fans of American culture.
Yeah.
Like, I watched a documentary about this. Like, these Russian and Ukrainian Jews fled Russia and were like, yeah, fucking hell, America's brilliant. You know? Whereas the German ones, it's like, still not communist, though, is it?
Fucking Germans. What's up with the Germans?
Mate, I'm telling you.
What's going on
I've got
here?
a big theory about them.
I know. I'm glad. Listen, I'm glad I'm part of the Russian ancestors who are like, maybe this plays into, what you were saying about Russia. Russia's just so terrible. Russia has the history of Russia is so awful. When the Russians came to America, they're like, oh, thank God, this is so good.
Literally, a lot of them were. Like, you can watch interviews with them. And they're like, well, I thought America was basically a paradise.
Right.
Like, yeah, because it was compared to being in Russia.
Maybe part of it, because Germany, was like a modern country, before the Nazis took over. So, so they came to America. They're like, whatever. It's just like the same. No big deal.
Yeah, they were, this isn't communist.
I read this article. I'm not going to go through.
Oh, that's no, hang on. Sorry. Just, basically they go to America going, this isn't German. It's like, yes. Sorry.
Yes, you did have that trip across the ocean. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
For all of it. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think part of the question he lays out in this article, which I think is crazy, is they're saying like, oh, when they came to America, they're questioning why in Russia there was a successful communist revolution, but not in modernized countries like America. And so they landed on the reason for that is the evil American capitalistic culture. And to me, it's like, that's really stupid. It's because Russia was a shithole and had really bad material conditions so people turned to extreme ideologies to fix them. Where I think in America, it's like, oh, people are relatively happy. So they're like, why am I going to burn the system down that I'm currently living in?
I mean, it's literally the meme, isn't it?
Yes.
I want change. This isn't the change I wanted.
Yeah. There's a funny part in this article where he talks about, what's the guy's name? He talks about, whatever. He talks about one of these teachers at the Frankfurt School, and it kind of led me down this path to a book that, this is actually really funny. In the 1960s, the Frankfurt School had its own evergreen college moment where all the Frankfurt School socialist professors were, organizing with their kids. They're trying to go on protests, throwing all this stuff. And then the kid protests go way out of control. And they start accusing their socialist teachers like Adorno and these and these famous socialist teachers of being fascist because they weren't going far enough and because they weren't advocating for violence and all these other things.
Yeah. This is why Marcuse essentially ended up writing Repressive Tolerance, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
Because Adorno was basically just like, I think we may have gone down the wrong road here, guys. I think we've got a problem. And Marcuse was like, no, this is brilliant. This is exactly what we want. And it's like, are you fucking... Well, I mean, he wasn't saying, obviously. So.
Yeah, no, it seemed like, the guy's name is Habermas and Adorno, yeah. It seemed like Marcuse was kind of just kind of basking in the, admiration in it of all the hippie, revolutionary kids.
Being a cult leader, yeah.
Yeah, being a cult leader. Because his fellow teachers were like, this is seeming a little crazy.
Is this a good idea?
Yeah, they're like,
the students are rising up. Was that what we were aiming for? And Marky's like, yeah. What were
my
you
favorite passage is
as long as they don't rise up against me, of course. Hey.
Well, yeah.
Already depressed by the student's actions until his death in August of 1969, Adorno remained traumatized by one aggressive stunt on April 12th involving female students who bared their breasts to him in his classroom.
What was going on there?
Okay.
What happened there?
I don't know.
Rough,
I guess
man.
A bunch of female students were protesting and they took their tops off.
This'll show him.
Yeah. And he was traumatized for the rest of his life.
He was traumatized.
He saw boobage.
Yeah.
Adorno.
I think what it is, just there's a quick thing there. What it is, basically, you've got to remember, 70 years ago, 100 years ago, however long it was, I can't even remember the date. People are a lot more conservative.
Yeah.
Just socially, generally.
No, he
but
was
it's
a
weird to think of a bunch of
He
like
was.
Frankfurt School hippie teachers in like the 60s as being like, oh, she bared her breast to me.
Yeah, but it's also the attitude for it, right? It's the intent.
Yeah.
Well, it's also the disrespect too.
Yeah, probably.
Culture industry. And, Aileen notes, he cautioned that it blurred the distinction between truth and fiction, between the commercial and the political. As journalist and author Stuart Jeffries explains, these scholars wondered why a socialist revolution had swept across Russia while failing to manifest in advanced industrialized nations like Germany and
Because we had
the
shit
United
and we
States.
liked it.
I know. Well, how is
I
this
mean,
a
like,
complicated question?
I'm no political scholar, but I think I got your answer.
Listen, Stuart Jeffries says otherwise. Okay.
I know it might seem strange, but sometimes people sort of like the way things are.
Yes.
States. He writes, they concluded that culture and the use of the media was the primary tool for oppressing the masses without the masses realizing that they're being oppressed.
See,
Okay.
they totally take the wrong message away.
I know.
I love no. You are oppressed. It's that you don't realize you're oppressed because you've got to understand, right? You having all of this wealth, free time,
You don't know you're
civil
actually being
rights.
racist.
Yeah, exactly. You just don't understand that under communism, things would be so much better, right? In my mythical utopia that doesn't exist, right? You're not being oppressed. Whereas here and now, you're being oppressed. I know you've got beer and steaks and, you hang out with your friends on the weekends and stuff, but this is all oppression. Fuck off. I can't stand this.
Aren't they working on putting this on the screen in popular franchises so they can remedy this problem? Isn't that the whole debate over Star Wars? I feel like it is.
I just think it's written like shit, but
but
maybe
it's written like shit from your perspective because it's not your morality, but it's their morality that they're trying to top down force on other people with the idea. And this completely goes into what he just said about how, the masses are being brainwashed by television to think they have it good in the West, when really he's got it backwards. They actually do have it good in the West, and television is just, depicting that goodness that they have. It's completely backwards.
This feels like one of those reverse Dunning-Kruger moments, Adam. There's a stroke of genius.
I'm never gonna get over it. I'm never gonna.
that was a genius explanation of exactly the point. Yeah.
I don't know how it plays
relative
into
morality.
I don't know how it plays.
No,
into
I wouldn't say that the issues with Star Wars or its morality. It's that it's really, really poorly written in terms of just basic logic.
But you're calling
that's from
it
your point of
poorly.
view.
Yeah. But I
don't think so. I think we can absolutely make very objective assessments on cause and effect and logic.
Yeah, but they don't believe in objective assessments.
Yes.
Well, they're wrong, and I can demonstrate it.
Well,
Look,
they will disagree. With you.
Movies are
They can, but they'll be wrong.
teaching people how to behave.
I'm not
in
saying
the
they're
world.
right. I'm just saying that's not persuasive to them.
Well, also movies are teaching people. Movies are morality plays. Like they literally call it the moral of the story at the end of the story, right? You're teaching how to behave in the world, and they're like, we want more girl bosses, so we need to teach female empowerment to young women, and therefore we're going to illustrate how that is done on screen. And you're going, wow, this is really shitty, but you don't understand.
The goal, in a bad way. Yeah.
The goal is not to tell you a compelling and interesting story. The goal is to put you in church and teach you how to behave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the way, it's how a message is told is the big difference. One is there's a way to try and actually teach someone, and then there's preaching to someone. There's a reason why Captain Marvel and Milan can both have similar elements of their message, and one is really, really, really well done, and the other is just crap.
Okay.
One's more of a proclamation, and the other's
but
here's why. It's
the big difference for me is it bottom up or is it top down? Does it gel with people's moral intuitions, or is it like trying to force a square peg into a round hole?
I mean, in the sense that if you don't go into some of these stories already agreeing with the point being made, you're never going to get it because it's not meant to change your mind.
I don't necessarily think you have to agree with every detail of the point. It has to appeal to your moral
I think that's part of the good
intuitions.
storytelling is to, I think a lot of Star Trek episodes are like this, where you have antagonists, not necessarily villains, If you want to convince someone that something's the case, then you have to come at it from a perspective of showing them all the steps along the way that you get to the message, not just assuming, oh, they agree with the message, we can just have this be the way it is from the get-go and there's no problem.